evening and welcome to the March 16th public meeting for the Board of Education. Mr. Tell, can you take the roll please?
Yes. Mr. Dashner?
I am here.
Mr. Kennedy?
I'm here.
Mr. Schweigler?
Here.
I am here. Mr. Bate?
Here.
Mr. Lethwich?
I'm here.
And Ms. McConnell? Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Next is a Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So real quick, before we go into public comments, I just wanted to share for the benefit of everyone here, and especially the people that might be watching at home, our format change. The governor or Michigan Department of Health and Human Services finally changed the guidance that allows us to hold board meetings in public once again. So we wanted to take the opportunity to get back in public. As of the end of the month, the exemption that allowed for virtual board meetings to occur expires. So all of our board meetings going forward from here on out need to be in-person meetings. So obviously we did it here at Centennial to have more room for people to spread out so they feel comfortable. And then also we decided to keep streaming them live so that people could watch at home. It just seemed like there was a lot more people participating in the meetings, and we wanted to make sure that that could still happen. So just wanted to share that with everybody. So now we have public comments. If you do plan to speak, please fill out a yellow card that should have been on the table as you came in and step up to the podium. We ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, please. And if you could start by introducing yourself, please. Get the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Bristol. I'm actually speaking on behalf of Jenny Neer, and she couldn't be here this evening, so this is her comment. I want to begin with applauding the school for its decision to finally have our students return to 100% in-class learning 4 days a week. It would be ideal if it was 5 days. I have seen the positive difference in my 2 children who attend SLHS. That being said, I feel like we have also taken steps backwards as SLCS has allowed deferment to MD, HHS, and OCHD unrealistic and overreaching contract tracing and quarantine protocols. It is absolutely unnecessary that we have healthy children in quarantine, forfeiting their rights to in-person learning. We have been told by this state's governor and MDHHS that we must follow the science if we want to return to life pre-COVID. Well, science has clearly and loudly stated that children are not super spreaders in school. Scientists stated that mortality rates for children who get COVID are incredibly low. Science has stated that the safest place for children to learn is in the classroom. In addition, the majority of SLCS teachers and staffs are vaccinated. Our children are wearing masks in school and for sports activities, yet they are being punished with the contract tracing protocols. COVID positive needs to quarantine, but healthy symptom-free children should not. Children who present negative COVID tests should not be in quarantine. Schools should not be demanding medical records. Athletes who participated in a game with minimal to no contact with an individual who tests positive for COVID should not be quarantined. The zero tolerance policy in regards to athletes and teams is an overreach. Guidelines have been given by MDHHS and Oakland County Health Department. They are not the law. This board and South Lyon CS need to fight for what is right for our children. They have been punished enough already. Again, that's from Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you can hand the yellow card to Judy, please.
Are we allowed to pull it down here or no?
That's a good question. No.
No. I've been
vaccines do it. No. Okay. All right. First of all, I'd like to say good evening. It's been a rough day. I'm one of the moms of one of the children that are currently healthy at home quarantining. My daughter had COVID-19 in December. Our whole family did. We quarantined for 21 days because we all tested on. Took her this morning, full of the antibodies. Doctor said, he doesn't care. I can send it over. They're going to say, you can't come. I said, you're right. He said, your daughter is more protected than the teachers that just got their vaccines. This is the medical professional, not government facilitated organization, not a school board of parents and educators, a doctor. Furthermore, I've been a teacher in the educational system, special ed, across the board for 25 years. Love teachers. I'm a teacher. My family's all teachers. Principals, superintendents, you name it. I have my sister-in-law who, was really high up in the school district. I have experience with teachers. I love teachers. I want to start off by saying that I know your job is difficult. And all you want is for our kids to succeed like everybody else does. I also want to say I love and support teachers. With this being said, I have experienced a lot of concerns since we went face-to-face. One, the Oakland County Health Department issue. You are no longer following CDC for certain things in Southline School District, which is alarming. My daughter's basketball team's quarantined. They've all been tested. Guess what? They're all negative. And guess what? They're missing out. They're upset. They're depressed because one child on the other team with a mask on tested positive, where there was girls who barely got off the bench. But I was told Oakland County has no tolerance. Is this going to happen with spring sports? If the left fielder has COVID, does the catcher have to quarantine? When does it stop? Second concern, no real instruction is being given for the quarantine kids. Maybe from some teachers. I was told by the principal this morning, it's up to the teacher. It can't be up to the individual teachers. It has to be a broad system. I don't care if you have to hire someone to sit in a room, 3 or 4 teachers, call these quarantine kids, see if they need support, see if they need extra help. Some of them have ADD. Some of them can't sit at home for 10 days and navigate it themselves. Someone said today, oh, they're high school. They should be able to figure it out. No, they're not adults. They're children. And some are freshmen who have never stepped a foot in high school before. This is their first experience. My daughter was a straight A, straight B student. She's going to be a D1 athlete. Guess what? She's getting D's and E's. Across the board. D's and E's. I've asked for help from the school. I've asked for tutors. Haven't received them yet. It's up to her now to make sure that she succeeds in school. And she's a healthy teenager. Third, lunch. Lunch is an issue, guys. You're going to have to talk to your lunch staff. My husband's the HR director for Fort Worth. He told me this. He deals with this all day. When his people eat, they take their masks off. They put their mask next to them. They eat their meal in peace. They put their mask back on. They sanitize. Your lunch staff is telling many children to put their mask like this. In between bites, they must put their mask back up. If they do not, they are reprimanded. Eating is a God-given right. Spread them out then. Put them in separate rooms. I don't care, but let the kids eat in peace. Because this up and down, dirty hands, food, come on. Your lunch staff should be not reprimanding children for having their masks down while they're eating their meal. Plus, they only get 15 minutes by the time they come here and get out because there's 4 lunches now. Give them 15 minutes of mask break because they're yelled at all day long, you guys. It's like prison, they tell us. All day long. Don't talk. Don't get close to my desk. See this? My space. You gotta let them have a little room. I'm not asking to give them a lot. Keep them safe. They're healthy children. Healthy children. I don't get it. You guys are mostly vaccinated. You're mostly vaccinated. I don't get the threat. You're letting kids with strep throat and the flu. Come on in. Might as well have a thing on your door. If you've got strep, herpes, flu, walk on in. More deaths from the flu in kids 0 to 18 in Michigan this year than COVID. Way more. What are we doing, guys? All I'm asking, work with the Oakland County Health Department. Please advocate for our children. Say, listen, there's not to be a middle ground. Let's keep everybody safe. But you got kids at Starbucks in the mall, I promise you. every day it's the quarantine club. They're not learning. But they could be masked up, 3 feet apart in a desk if they show a negative test. Please, that's all I'm asking. I think I speak for a lot of people. Keep the kids in school. Governor, oh, kids are in school, this is big. Kids are in school. Maybe you'll end up with half by the end of the year if you keep it up. They're all going to be at home. And I know I went over 3 minutes, and I apologize, but I just felt like these were things that a lot of parents have expressed to me, and they need to be out, and we need to be open about it and honest about it. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Catherine Macheski, and I have a junior at South Miami High School. He is my third and youngest. I'm just agreeing with everything that the last two ladies have said. I've talked to a neighbor myself who does. She wanted to be here. She's not here. She said she was going to be here. She didn't come, but was having a conversation with her today, and she's in the same situation where her son is quarantined for 10 days. You know, they couldn't tell him who the kid was because of HIPAA laws. I get that. You know, she's trying to talk to her son. Were you by this kid? Were you by him for 15 minutes? You know, the standards are close contact, 15 minutes within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes without a mask. So I can't see how all these kids that are quarantined all had that tightness with these kids at the school. I think rumor had it there was 32 kids in this one kid's class that was quarantined. That kid has barely any symptoms, and all the other kids have no symptoms either. So she's like, my kid has been out. Again, same thing, not learning, not in school. Same issue with the rules about what the teachers, they can have 3 different things. They can live stream, they can Google Classroom, or they can give them assignments after the fact. So there's no real cohesive. Nobody has, it's like they have their own choice of what they're doing. If you're going to do it, live stream, have every teacher live stream. That would be a great solution because then the kids at home could actually see what's going on. The teacher's teaching to the class, the teacher's not teaching to the computer, which was what was happening when we were at the 2 days, 50%, 25%. My kid didn't go until he had to go. Not that he didn't want to be there, but he's like, Mom, I'm in class for 2 hours with my mask. I'm there I get about 45 minutes of instruction and then say, okay, you can work on your own. Because I'd rather be at home working on my own, sitting in my bedroom. I mean, we're raising these lazy kids because they don't want to go to school. They don't want to get up and go to school because they're not getting the information that they need or the time that they need. So I just wanted to express my opinion. We need to have a discussion, a conversation, be open to things and not be you got to be so rigid. Like she said, listen to more CDC. I don't know why we have to follow the Oakland County, because aren't these all recommendations and not mandates? They're not laws. Let's see what works for our school. Why can't all these other schools be open? And some schools, they don't even, in the South, they're not even wearing masks in their class, and they've been open since August, since school year, all year. Florida, big thing. I know everybody brings up Florida, but obviously they're doing something right. So we need to take lead from other places that are obviously doing it better than we are. Thank you.
My apologies, I'm back. That just sparked a memory for me. So my daughter is one of those that is quarantined right now. First week back, 4 full days. She is the quarantine on Thursday that took place. I do have to say, she's in 9th grade, and I have an older son in high school as well. She and I did talk a lot about it. My background is I work at a school in Plymouth, face-to-face, 5 days a week since September. Not vaccinated, not anything. So my tolerance and I have a lot of compassion. and zero tolerance at this point with a lot of things. Because I've been doing it a really long time in a pandemic. However, I'm happy with my daughter saying she personally is receiving live classes right now. So she said it's going fine. We all know what fine means, but she's happy with fine. But I definitely can tell the difference in her. She is pretty sad. You know, it's really hard on them, and both of my kids are academic athletes, and they work their butts off. And I see the difference with them going back. But there will always be all the minutia of getting it all together. And this, just in the first week, I think there's a lot of things to work through. And I would say one of the things, as a parent, is not really knowing. I actually called Mr. Runn and myself because it was my daughter's friend who sat in front of her, which caused her to be the close contact. So we personally knew ahead of time that she sits behind this girl, she's automatically going to be close contact. Mr. Brennan is fantastic. Anytime I've ever worked with him, he's been great. And he and I talked through some things. But the only thing was, when my daughter reached out to all the teachers, they said, we're sorry, we can't give you anything or do anything. So Friday was like an open day for her because they hadn't heard from administration. So she didn't have anything for Friday because they said we cannot allow you access or grant access to anything until we hear from administration. So that was like a down day for her. But, you know, she is definitely chugging along, but you can see the snowball effect of all of this, of course, as we see with so many kids being out in quarantine. I would hate for her to go back, and then the next thing is she's quarantined again. And then my other question is, my son. He's zippity-doo-dying off to school every day. I mean, they're together all the time. So that's my other question. He goes, and she doesn't. So I don't know how that works. So that's just something else I wanted to put out there, you know, the science behind that. So thank you again for your time.
Hi folks, Chris Campo. It's going to be short and sweet here. Just want to say that the insanity and the paranoid approach to the obsessive quarantining to our children is out of control, completely out of control. No other business in the United States is operating like this. The post office does not quarantine for direct contact that we are doing to our children. The grocery stores do not do it. Craig, I'm sure your work doesn't do it. My work doesn't do it. If it did, the entire United States would be shut down with the amount of people that they are quarantining on a percentage basis that we are doing to our children. It is insanity, complete insanity. And the approach to it is paranoid and silly. And I know that Oakland County is behind it, but your job is to advocate for our children. Your job is to go to bat for the children and the education and being in person and doing the right thing. I implore you guys to do what you need to do to Oakland County. Tell us what to do. We will do it. We will rally. We will go to bat. We will send emails. We will go to meetings. You've seen it. We've done it this entire year. I never thought my life would be this involved with the schools ever. But what's happening makes me sick to my core. What is going on with the way that you are treating our children. Our children come first and foremost in all of our lives as parents. All of our lives. Every single one of us put our children first. But you guys are not. No one is. You're sending our children home because they were sitting next to somebody with a mask on? With a mask on. You're sending our kids home for 10 days with a mask on. What is the point of wearing a mask if they have to go home? What's the point? What is the point of wearing a mask if they have to go home for 10 days by sitting next to someone? Please explain that to me. Please explain that to all of us. Please explain that to the community because it makes zero sense. Thank you.
This handout
pandemic is not a joke. 30,188,609 cases, 549,155 deaths. My mother was one of those. This pandemic has hit our family hard. Again, it's not a joke. We are not a business. There are rules to be followed. First, I'm here to ask that you add an item to the agenda to discuss as a board the implications of returning to 100% capacity from hybrid learning. There are currently 17 COVID-19 cases in the last 9 days, with 262 children currently quarantined. At what point is this better than the hybrid model? How many teachers still have to use Google Meet due to quarantine students? How many children are not learning at home because there are no meets available to them? This has not been a success story since requiring those of us that ask you to put the health and safety of our children and families first. For the past 365 days, it has been my responsibility as a parent to keep my child healthy. Now that is out of my control and in this district's hands. And you're not doing a great job. Just last week, my own child had to be tested for COVID-19. Not once in the last 365 days has that happened under my watch, but 4 days after returning to his school, he developed symptoms. How do you think that affected his mental health and our family? Secondly, I implore you to resume hybrid learning. I urge you, at minimum, to allow children to self-quarantine and isolate after spring break, if necessary. Families are traveling. You can see it all over social media, all over the news. This will not be safe for our communities, families, students, or staff. Third, I ask that you as an administration institute a policy regarding proper mask wearing. Students are not adhering to the measures currently in place. Just today, my son saw a student walking in the halls at East without a mask on, not even pulled down, not even in his hand. How is that happening on the district's watch? I can tell you how it's happening. I've stood here tonight and seen grown adults pulling on their mask, it falling down on their nose, not sanitizing between. But yet you're asking children to do this, and it's not being done well. I have urged my son to stand up and voice his concern when he feels his health and safety is at risk. However, today, a student in one of his classes was suspended. This child asked a few students around them to pull up their masks as they were down below their mouths. After that child said that, he was taunted and eventually kicked another student in defense. The child felt at risk and was then suspended. I have no idea if the other group of individuals were suspended. And if they weren't, then I ask you why. Why are you not putting our children first? As a district, that should be your first priority.
Are there any other public comments?
I am not a public speaker. My name is Lisa. I have two students at East. I'm also a nurse. I work at University of Michigan Hospital. I see and understand both sides of what people see, but I'm a parent, and we need to take care of our children, and we're not. From the beginning, I have said from COVID, everyone is going to deal with it the way that they need to deal with it. We're going to keep our kids home if we need to keep them home. We're going to put them in school if we need to put them in school. We have double mask people. We have people that pull their masks down and don't wear them. We all have to do what's best for ourselves and not blame or make it affect everybody else. Oakland County is taking everything out of our hands, even your hands. But those are not laws, they're suggestions. We need to come up with policies and procedures in this district for our kids that will benefit our kids, that will get them the best education that they can have. Sitting in their rooms was not what we should be doing. They need to be in school. Sending them home now for 10 days without any leadership, any involvement, is worse than what we were doing before. Sports is a whole nother world, and it's important to a lot of people and a lot of kids, but education is the most important. Contact tracing needs to stop. If you're sitting, I work in a hospital. I'm with COVID positive patients every day. I don't quarantine. I wear my mask. I wash my hands. Our coworkers, we go to lunch and we sit and we pull our masks down and we have our 30-minute lunch, uninterrupted with our masks down. Nobody gets sent home. Nobody stays home for 10 days. We can do this, and I've said this from the beginning. We can be safe. Our kids want to be in school. They want to be with their friends. They want to walk down the halls. They want to talk to their friends. They want to drink their water in class. There's no reason they can't do that. But thank you for listening.
Any other public comments? Okay, we will move on to item 4, which is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve this evening's agenda. Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Abate. Any discussion? Okay, we'll do a voice vote. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. That brings us to item 5, approval of minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the minutes, March 2nd, 2021, their regular meeting. Support.
Moved by Mr. Abate, supported by Mr. Leftwich. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, approval of bills.
I will move to approve the bills for the February 21 prepays, the March 21 AP bill run, the March 21 bond bills, the January 21 wires and ACH transactions, the February 21 wires and ACH transactions, January 21 revenue report, and the February 21 revenue report.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Schwegler, support by Mr. Abate. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item number 7, resolution regarding International Academy Consortium Agreement Amendment. I believe that's you, Mr. Archibald.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Dashner. Good evening, everyone. The background information, the district is a participation district in the International Academy and is party to the consortium agreement that sets forth the terms and conditions by which the IA is governed and operates. 11 of the 13 member districts supported the consortium agreement as voted on in June 2020. Changes were proposed, which should garner the support of all 13 member districts as desired. These changes were reviewed in detail with the Board of Education at our previous meeting. The recommendation is to approve the amendments to the International Academy Consortium Agreement by passing the attached resolution, which I believe we have a copy of.
Thank you, Mr. Archibald. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the amendments to the International Academy Consortium Agreement.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Abate, support by Ms. Rattell. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Oh, roll call, okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Rattell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
Ms. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Lethwich.
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Sorry about that, Judy. Okay, item 8, acceptance of gift. Mr. Archibald?
Yes, thank you again. We have a donation this evening from Mr. Eric Stidham, who has donated a Baldwin Acrosonic piano to South Lyon High School Music Department. The piano is valued at approximately $800. Recommended action is to accept the gift consistent with policy 7003 and also extend our appreciation to Mr. Stidham for such a generous donation.
Thank you, Mr. Archibald. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to accept the gift.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Ms. Rattell. Discussion? I will say thank you. We always appreciate donations.
I went to make the motion, but I believe someone else down the table did at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, I heard Eric text me.
Yeah, we were.
You won.
You want credit, Mr. Lethwich?
No, thank you.
Okay, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to item number 9, administrator hiring. Mr. Archibald again?
Yes. As you know, we've had a vacancy in the Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services position since July. Dr. Bill Weber has been serving in this role on a part-time basis since August. I want to express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Weber for sharing his time, knowledge, and expertise with us over these past several months. He has been certainly invaluable to our leadership team. And I also want to thank the other members of the cabinet to my left who have picked up additional responsibilities during this time as well. I am extremely excited this evening to recommend Mr. Brian Toth, current CMS principal, to fill the vacant Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services position on a permanent basis. Mr. Toth came to South Lyon from Farmington Public Schools. Also, I believe, spent 1 year with Detroit Public Schools. He joined our district in 2013. He served in a variety of roles in both districts, including coach, teacher, assistant principal, and principal. In his nearly 8 years with South Lyon, Brian has established himself as a servant leader, as a relationship builder, as a team player, and as an excellent communicator. If approved, Brian will do an exceptional job and is certainly excited to serve South Lyon Community Schools in this new role. Timeline, Brian will assume his new role effective April 12th. In the meantime, one of his first duties will be working to find an interim principal here at Centennial to finish out the year strong. And with that, it is my recommendation that we approve the hiring of Mr. Toth as presented.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Archibald. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the hiring, Mr. Toth.
Support.
It's moved by Mr. Abate, supported by Mr. Tell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Can we do this by a voice vote, Judy? Roll call. Okay, Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. I vote yes. Mr. Dasher?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Welcome aboard again.
Mr. Toth, would you join us at the podium, please?
Thank you very much for your support. It's been a great honor to be the principal at Centennial Middle School for the last 8 years. Extremely proud of the things that our staff and students have accomplished, not only this year, but the past 8 years. It's just a great community and very excited to serve the district as a whole. So thank you for supporting and looking forward to this new opportunity to serve the district in a greater capacity. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 10.
Yes, a recommendation was made by Miller Johnson School Policy Services for the board to adopt a resolution related to recent changes to Michigan's Open Meeting Act. These changes reflect hosting electronic Board of Education meetings as well as remote participation. An update to policy 1002, meetings of the Board of Education, is also necessary, and we recommend that you approve the resolution as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Support.
It is moved by Mr. Leftwich, support by Mr. Abate. Is there any discussion? Mr. Toe, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Dasher?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Ms. McDowell?
Yes.
And Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 11, so you as well, Ms. Kudwa?
Yes, item 11 is the update to the policy that's related to the resolution. A recommendation was made by the Policy Committee on February 1st in consultation with Miller Johnson School Policy Services to adjust the SLCS Board of Education Policy 1002, meetings of the Board of Education, to ensure compliance with recent changes to Michigan's Open Meetings Act. These changes reflect electronic Board of Education meeting requirements and notifications. The changes were brought to the March 2nd Board of Education meeting for information, and no changes were requested. We are recommending you approve the updates to policy 1002, meetings of the Board of Education, as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to update the policy 1002.
Give that to Dan.
And I'll support.
Mr. Kennedy with support. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Toe, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Dasher?
Yes.
Ms. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Item number 12, update to policy 2006. Ms. Kudwa?
Yes, the recommendation was made by the Policy Committee also on February 1st, also in consultation with Miller Johnson School Policy Services, to adjust the Board of Education Policy 2006, subsection student bullying, to ensure compliance with recent changes to state law. These changes reflect shifting some language out of policy and into our administrative regulations, as well as changes in the implementation and language adjustments, and we do recommend that you approve the updates to policy 2006, student bullying, as presented. I'm sorry, 2006.
Thank you, Mrs. Kudwa. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move then to update policy 2006. Support. Second.
Okay. So that was moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Abate. Any discussion? Mr. Toe, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Ms. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Dasher?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. That brings us to our information and inquiry section. Administration, non-resident schools of choice resolution for the 2021-2022 school year. Mrs. Kudla?
Yes, it does call for a resolution for us to open up, as we have been doing for 105, which is students who are in our county but attending other school districts, and 105C, which is counties that are contiguous with Oakland County, for students at certain levels as described in the resolution. We are recommending that we move forward with the same resolution we've had in the past, where students can come kindergarten through the beginning of ninth grade under certain parameters at spaces, at buildings we have spaces for them. So this will come back to the April board meeting for adoption, and at that point, then, if it moves forward, we'll post that to the Oakland County website and to our website for families that are looking for a district other than their resident district, which we are aware. So not a change in terms.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Kudla on this?
I guess I just have one. Let's suppose going forward with all the ingenuity that's going on this year, we decide to offer some sort of virtual classes. Would that restrict students from outside the district to maybe sign up for that virtual class? This is just pure hypothetical.
This enrolls students in our district, Mr. Schwegler, and then
Just
from there,
full-time,
we
not on a
determine where they're
class.
placed.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Ms. Kudla. Next, we have the Bond 2020 presentation, Bart Mello and IDS.
Good evening. Please welcome to the board Jeff Atkins and Charlie Haas for the 2020 Bond Quarterly Board of Education update.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for letting us present to you this evening on behalf of Chuck Lewis, the principal in charge of the Southline Bond. I'd like to just give you a brief update on what we've been going through since our last update in December. We will have some repetitive slides in the beginning for some of the newer board members that were not present at that December update, so there might be what looks like some repeats, but we'll quickly move on into our updates. So I am Charlie Haas. I'm an architect with IDS and the project manager for the bond. And with me this evening is Aubrey Robichaud, also an architect and a designer for many of the projects here this evening, and Jeff Atkins and Bart Mello. So what we want to do is give you a brief overview of some of the current projects that we are going through in various phases. Some of the terms you'll see moving forward are schematic design, design development, and construction documentation. So with schematic design, that is our first stage along with programming in a project where we establish the spaces, the needs, and start to answer some of the questions that will help lend our expertise to the design. And as we move into design development, that's where we further refine and get into some of the more critical details, and then construction documentation is what inevitably ends up on the street in the form of bid documents, drawings, and specifications. So currently, we have just completed our schematic design for the athletic fields at Southline High School and Southline East. We are in progress for the design development for the Southline High School pool addition. And we are currently wrapping up construction documents for the Aux Gym at East and the Science Lab at Southline High School. Out for bids, we have some flooring replacement that is to take place at Kent Lake and Southline High School. There's 2 phases for that, so this will be for the phase 1. And also the first phase of our elementary playground updates, which will be to Dolson, Salem, and Sayre. And then what has been either in construction or awarded or is in pre-construction right now is the East Chiller replacement, paving replacement at Brummer, Dolson, and Hardy, and the stadium turf replacement and track surfacing at Southline East. So as we go through these projects, what you'll see is that we have a format of introducing you to the project team, whose input we've gotten over the course of the project, what the project goals were, what we established with the users, as well as some graphic updates and plans, just to kind of keep things as hopefully as clear as possible, what we'll do is we'll pause at the end of each project to allow for some questions from the board. So for South Lyon High School's science lab reno, as you can see that we have engaged a lot of users, including CETA, South Lyon High School's administration, and the entire science department. We have multiple people on our end from architectural, mechanical, electrical, and structural engineering, as well as our colleagues at Department Mallow, who've been providing constructability and estimating guidance along the way. When we started the project, we established with the users that the goal was to increase lab size. Currently, we know that high school classes are quite large, and we want to make sure that there are appropriate numbers of lab stations for all the students who accept instruction. We wanted to modernize. We know that the facilities were in need of an update, and that includes everything from the casework to the equipment and the fume hoods, and that we also wanted to provide some flexibility so that as the academics changes throughout and needs to accommodate additional sections of, say, a chemistry class, that some of the labs can do that. So with our project schedule, what we do as a firm is something called a quality management review print. So that's where we print our drawings and we give them to a new set of eyes within our firm in the respective discipline. And they go through for quality checks, make sure that everything's clear. We also distribute those to Barton Mallow for any additional input. Currently, we had hit that milestone at the end of February. We are targeting to get our bid documents to Barton Mallow on April 2nd. And those will be going out for bids in fall of 2021. One item that I would like to invite Jeff to also speak on is that there's been a slight adjustment in the construction schedule. Previously, we had been working towards a summer of 2021 construction, but just due to some additional factors that I know Jeff will talk about, we had gathered a lot of input from both the teachers, the building administration, the ARC, and the FTC, and ultimately came with a recommendation to push the construction for one summer.
Thanks, Charlie, for letting me share the bad news. But in all reality, with the timeline of the project right now, with the material deliveries we're looking at, if we move forward with this project right now, we would not have the material delivered to complete construction until probably December of this year. So that would mean that those 8 science teachers in those space would have to be relocated within the building in some closet, some space there, and really would not be ideal for teaching. And what was really reflective is when we did bring this to the user groups and talk to them about it, their thoughts were, we've gone through a real rough year with students not being able to be taught in their space and have lab space. Last thing that they wanted to do was spend another 4 months outside of that space and not have kids use that. So they were very understanding that we would make most sense to move this. What this will allow us to do is if we bid it in the fall, that we can have all materials delivered, ready on site next spring, so that we can complete the whole construction project over a 10-week summer, so that there will not be any disruption to the school year project. In addition to that, we know COVID is driving pricing up. We didn't want that to be a deciding factor, but we do know that would have gone excessively over budget based on bids we're seeing right now. The inflation in the market right now is incredible. It would have put us at least 15% over budget, which on a $1.5 million job would have been a lot of dollars to have to recoup and take out of other projects. So both those decisions went into the recommendation to bump this project from 21 to 22.
Thanks, Jeff. This is a brief overview of the project. There are technically 13 labs in South Lyon High School. We are looking to renovate 10 of them. They are going to consolidate from 10 smaller labs to 8 slightly larger labs. What we've done is we've created 4 biology labs, which you see on the left in green, 2 chemistry labs, which you see on the right in blue, and then the 2 physics labs, which are in purple. There are 2 of the biology labs, as mentioned, will also be able to accommodate additional chemistry classes as necessary. They've been provided with that infrastructure. And along with this renovation, we have flipped the orientation of the lab and lecture space. Currently, the lecture space is along the main corridor, and we've moved that to the exterior to allow for an increased area of lab These are just some typical 3D views. This would be of a chemistry lab. As you can see that there is the lecture space there towards the exterior with views into the prep and the storage rooms. The fume hoods are accessed similar to east off of the storage room to allow for easier passing and setup of experiments. And that the lab counters are equipped with the gas and instruction that they will need and utilities, along with additional instructional technology on the corridor wall in the form of this one shows a monitor on the wall there, but that'll allow for teachers to simulcast their instruction from the front of the classroom over into the lab space, and that'll be typical throughout all the labs. And in the biology, we do have similar pods laid out, or similar pods similar in style to Southline East with that tapered look to allow for multiple students to stand and learn and do experiments in an island. Again, with the monitors on the corridor side for that second area of instructional technology. And then the physics, which primarily is made up of movable tables to allow for the setup of longer experiments. And not as many utilities such as gas, but still quite intricate in space in terms of utility hookups for electrical and vacuum. And all the labs will be equipped with a typical demonstration counter. So these will all be the same for all the teachers, where they will have gas valves, compressed air, and a sink that they can all set up on. So they'll all be the same in length and configuration throughout each lab. Are there any questions on the Southline High School Science Lab? I'd invite my colleague Aubrey up here to run through the Aux Gym and the Southline High School Pool Edition.
Thank you, Charlie, and good evening, everyone. My name is Aubrey, as Charlie mentioned, and I am a design architect with IDS. And what we wanted to do today is give you a quick update on the Auxiliary Gym Addition project and where we are currently in the design process. So the last time we met as a group here and presented this, we had just wrapped up the schematic design phase of the project and we're jumping into design development. And so here on this first slide, again, this is sort of an itemized list of users that have been involved up to this point in the design phase from IDS, from the district standpoint, and also with Barton Mallow. And just as a sort of reminder, the project goals that were established as part of the pre-bond planning effort and sort of confirmed as we went through this design phase. The first being increased opportunities for training for the athletic department, increased opportunities for coaching related to the athletic department, and generally improving operations and facilities. And then finally, enhancing events and competitions. And then just as a note, the addition of the Auxiliary Gymnasium also moves Southline East one step closer to the original master plan for the facility. And as I had mentioned previously, we are currently in the construction documentation phase of the project. We're slated to print a quality management review set here towards the end of March. And then documents are slated to be delivered to Barton Mallow April 9th of this year. And construction is slated to begin summer of 2021. And again, since the last time we saw this as a group, the sort of scope and the overall size of the project has not changed significantly, so the square footage has stayed relatively the same. We still have the main gymnasium with the main court and the 2 cross courts. We still have the zone to the west of that space, which is the artificial turf zone that will be used for training drills. There will also be a batting cage in that location. And then in addition to those 2 primary spaces in this addition, we have the sort of bay of storage, which you see with the blue color on the lower level plan here. We've got some facility storage spaces, which are in the light blue. And then we also have a storage space specific to the physical education group and athletics, which is the darker blue color. And then the classroom, which is primarily intended to serve the athletic community. for film review and to serve as a space for booster meetings, but is also intended as a supplement to the existing training classroom, which will be available for general education purposes. And then on the main level, the space that you see in the light blue is the multi-purpose space. And here we have room accommodated for mobile bleacher systems that can be pulled up to the edge of that mezzanine to overlook the court below. Here we've got a couple updated 3D interior shots of the space. So since we have been working through this design, development, and construction phase, we've really started to identify the detailed needs of each of these spaces. So for instance, here we're starting to see some of the equipment selections, the scoreboard selections, items like batting cages, drop-down divider curtains, which are currently shown pulled up in this view, and then also wall padding for acoustics and for safety. And then here is an updated three-dimensional image standing on the upper mezzanine level, and so here you can see the guardrail, and then beyond that, the court space on the lower level. And then again, as we've been working through this design development phase, we've been really digging into some of the details. So again, here's an example of that turf zone. So we've really started to dig into the batting cage selection, and then what that turf material starts to look like in terms of the skirting. And then finally, from an exterior standpoint, conceptually, the decision was made to move forward with matching existing material color palettes. And so here we're showing existing brick material to match the existing building, along with the insulated metal panel system on the upper portion of the addition. Any questions before we move forward to the pool addition project? Okay, so for the pool addition and renovation, here's a list again of the users that have been involved to date from the district standpoint. We have had a lot of user meetings with the community, so including the rec groups, with the special education group and the Center for Active Adults, along with the athletic folks. So some of the primary project goals that were established as part of the pre-bond planning with this project, the first being operations, so overall to improve the general function and operation of the facility relative to current conditions. And this is specific to all the different user groups, so this would include the community, this would include athletics as well. And secondly, community to provide opportunities for increased community use. And thirdly, to improve upon the existing building conditions and infrastructure to provide an up-to-date facility that meet the district's long-term needs. From a scheduling standpoint, we kicked off the schematic design phase at the end of January, and we are just about currently starting the DD phase. We have our first round of design development user group meetings scheduled for next week, so we're about to kick that off. We have also been working internally at IDS and with Martin Mallow, working through items over the past several months as well. So to give you a sort of point of reference, here's an existing floor plan. Here you can see the existing pool space. If you sort of draw a line on the north, so north is up in this plan view specifically. So if you draw a sort of line at the south edge of those existing public restrooms and along the south edge of those existing PE locker rooms, everything primarily to the south of that is going to get demolished as part of the scope of this project, aside from the existing stair and elevator core that's near the entry vestibule. Here we've got a few images of some of the existing spaces. So for instance, option A in this view is that existing entry vestibule. B is in that same space, but looking towards the existing tables that overlook the viewing area into the pool. Option C, or image C here is showing the existing marshalling training space. D is clearly the pool itself. And then E and F are showing some existing conditions in the existing women's locker rooms. So as we jump up to the second floor, again, everything sort of to the south of that existing weight room space is going to be demolished as part of this project. The existing mechanical space, which you see there on the east, will remain intact aside from infrastructure improvements that need to be made in order to accommodate the gymnasium. Here are a few existing images. So sort of in that northwest corner of the existing pool space, looking upward, and then B, again, is a better one, sort of looking back at that existing seating area. And so we'll jump forward here to give you a quick update on where we are currently at from a planning standpoint. And so here you see the new proposed floor plan. And taking into consideration all the needs that we heard from the various user groups, we've sort of landed on this option. Here we were showing a competition pool and a therapy pool, so two separate pool volumes. And then around that, the light blue space is all the pool deck area. And what you'll notice about the specific layout from a conceptual standpoint is the locker room suites, which include the men's and women's locker rooms, and then what we're calling the cabana suite, are all located to the north side of the pool deck, in between the pool deck and the existing PE locker rooms. The entry vestibule will remain in the current location, but will be reconfigured and enlarged to accommodate a larger capacity. And then you'll also notice there are other sort of ancillary spaces like your pool storage space and your pool mechanical space that you see there to the east side of the plan. So as we hop up to the second floor, we are increasing the capacity of the spectator seating area from about 260 seats, which is currently, up to about 480 total seats. We are also including a set of public restrooms on the upper level for convenience. One thing I did not mention, on the lower level where we have the existing public restrooms, we're also introducing new entry points on the south side of those public restrooms for ease of access between the pool area and those. So aside from the seating and the restrooms, the upper levels renovation is relatively minimal compared to the first floor. So this slide is showing an enlarged plan of that locker room suite. And so here you'll see in the orange what we're calling the cabana suites. And then in the sort of pinky colors are the designated men's and women's locker room suites. You'll notice here that we do have designated separate varsity locker rooms that are integral to those suites for each gender, with their lockable locker spaces. And then we also have a number of shower, toilet fixtures, and lockers in the main locker room spaces as well. The cabana suite is meant to be a sort of pass-through zone between the new public corridor that you see in gray there and the pool deck. So anyone coming from the existing PE locker rooms will be able to pass through that as a corridor. And the locker room suites are really meant to facilitate ease of use for both the community and for the athletics group. So the thought is that from a community standpoint, these would be available for all sorts of uses. For the competitions, primarily would be designated to gender-specific locker rooms. And then this image is just showing you sort of 3D overhead view of that same floor plan, so in a little bit more detail. It aids to sort of visualize that from a three-dimensional standpoint. And then we sort of jump up to that upper level. So this is showing you a very basic three-dimensional image of what that new seating area will look like overlooking the pool volume. And then we do have some very preliminary three-dimensional images from the inside. So the one on the top left is a view looking at the therapy pool back towards the seating area to the north. The image on the top right is showing you a view from the viewing area that is within the new entry lobby that you'll be able to overlook the therapy pool. Image on the bottom left is from the upper mezzanine level. So this would be your entry view as you enter in from the second floor. And likewise, the image on the bottom right is similar to that, looking a little bit more to the west.
And then we do have one more interior image here. So this is sort of looking from that northeast corner over towards the therapy pool. And you can see from a spatial standpoint, we've sort of stepped the volume of the two pools. So the competition pool is a little bit higher than the therapy pool, which aids in this sort of feeling of intimacy with the therapy pool. And so this is sort of where we sort of left off from an exterior standpoint at the end of the schematic design phase. And what we're currently efforting through right now is taking this sort of conceptual masking that you see here, and really applying specific materials and looking at that relative to the existing building. And so those are the sorts of things that we're currently working through in this next phase of the design. Any questions before I give it back to Charlie?
Thank you, Aubrey. Just, we do have another handful of projects going on as well that I just want to provide some updates on. As I mentioned, the athletic fields at both high schools. We've currently wrapped up that schematic design phase about a week and a half ago, and those are currently with Barton Mallow for pricing. We are going to target an out for bids in November of this year, with construction taking place targeting March of next year through October of the following year. What that does include is new turf practice fields and the addition of turf to the varsity baseball and softball fields. With our flooring replacement projects, we did deliver bid documents to Barton Mallow last Friday, and those are currently on the streets. Construction is slated to take place this summer. At Kent Lake Elementary, what we have included in the scope is a replacement of the corridor flooring to switch it from the existing VCT and linoleum to an LVT, which is becoming the district standard. And this also includes along the main corridor a sensory path that should be pretty exciting for the kids and the OTs and PTs that utilize that building. At Southline High School, as part of the first phase of flooring, we focused on the corridors. That does include walk-off carpet and the installation of terrazzo. This is primarily in the area right outside of the serving area in the dining commons. And with the elementary playgrounds, we have also delivered those bid documents to Barton Mallow. Construction is slated for this summer. And at Dolson, Salem, and Sayre, there is replacement of aged playground equipment, including like climbers and swing sets. And with Brummer, Dolson, and Hardy Elementary, we've included a replacement of basketball hoops. That's to coincide with the paving projects that are slated to take place this summer at those buildings. Foods Lab and project planning room at the east, we did have those out to bid, but the bids did not come back very favorable. So what the plan has been to rebid those with the Aux Gym project this summer. That construction time frame is being worked out based on the schedule with the building and the Aux Gym. Paving replacement, Dolson, Brummer, and Hardy, as I mentioned, that they're getting basketball hoops as a result of this. But that construction is for this summer, and that's just asphalt and select concrete walk and curb replacement. The East Stadium turf replacement and track resurfacing will take place this summer. That is a full replacement of the artificial turf, excluding the subgrade, as that is found to be in relatively good condition based on preliminary test reports, and also the application of a structural spray to the track. And lastly, the East Chiller replacement, that went out for bids quite a while ago. It's in construction and is slated to wrap up construction towards the end of this month. Real quick, I want to talk about what I'm referring to as Phase 1B. This is still part of Series 1 and kind of our next group of projects that we're looking to target to kick off with design. What we have on there is the Early Childhood Center and Bartlett Elementary additions. We have another round of paving replacement at the Administration Building, ECC, Millennium, and South Lyon East High School. And at East, it includes a parking lot expansion that is another level of the building's master plan that was designed when the building was originally thought out. Additional playground improvements will go hand in hand with the addition at Bartlett. Building renovations at the Administration Building and the some various projects across the elementary schools. And lastly, as I mentioned, the athletic fields for South Lyon East and South Lyon High School. And lastly, there is a few rounds of lighting upgrades that will take place district-wide that we will work with the district and facilities and Barton Mallow to target prime locations for upgrading or the lighting from what's currently installed to LED, whether that is a full retrofit or a full replacement will be determined based on the application. So I would just like to add that throughout this whole process, in about I'd say we're about 7 months into the bond right now, and just the level of participation and enthusiasm from the district has been much appreciated by the design team to always receive feedback to help guide us in our design. It's been very appreciated. So I just do want to commend the district for bringing enthusiastic people who are eager to be part of the process to the table. So as part of our next steps, as I mentioned, we had that round of Phase 1B projects that we will begin our pre-design and design meetings with appropriate users and other district administration. We'll look to provide you guys with another board update in June, approximately 3 months from now. And then we meet monthly with the Facility Planning Committee, and we will target to meet with them. Our next meeting is in April. That's all we have. If there's any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, Aubrey, and Jeff for coming tonight, providing the presentation for us. Greatly appreciate it. Next thing we have is legislation. Mr. Archibald?
Nothing to report this evening.
Board committee reports, legislative, I'm guessing this will report as well.
No, actually, I was unable to make the last meeting.
Policy, Mr. Abate. Finance, Mr. Schwigler.
Yes, we met last week just to go over a couple items. There was, and now that we're back in school, discussion about bringing back superintendent secretaries, some discussions about some concessions that were made for administration and for teachers during our big cuts last year. And then we had an update on the credit rating issue, and it kind of looks like, I guess it's good news, bad news. It doesn't matter. We really try to bring up our fund balance because there's so many other things that are really outside of our control that have to do with long-term liabilities, pensions. So it's just a wait and see until we hear more information about it and what size impact that might have on our secretary.
Thank you. Facilities planning, Mr. Tell.
We have not had a meeting since our last board meeting, and you got a very thorough update just now.
Thank you. Curriculum and communications.
Our next meeting looks like it's April 1st.
And
That's still.
I have to move those days. I have to double check.
We moved them around a couple of times. My calendar shows April 1st, but I think was put it after that, maybe the following week.
It is accurate on the district website.
Oakland Schools, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I did not make the last meeting. There's one on Wednesday.
Yes, that's correct. There hasn't been a meeting since our last meeting.
Okay.
Next one's Wednesday.
Any other, Mr. Archibald? Okay, reports, South Lyon Education Foundation. Mr. Abate, is there a report this month?
Formal report tonight, but I'll just say that since the last meeting, we had a nice uptick of folks taking advantage of the $100 mini grants that that the foundation is putting out, and so that was really good. I'm glad that folks were watching and heard that and are taking advantage of that, because we certainly want to get those dollars into the hands of into our classrooms and out for students. And I'll publicly thank Barton Mallow as well for this very generous donation that Ms. Witt passed along to me. I will get to the formal board so that they can fund that, and that will ultimately go out to our students as well. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Next, item 15 is public comments. If there's anybody that'd like to make public comments in our second area here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sue Young, and I would like to speak for those who are not here tonight and still want to be heard. I am requesting you consider a change or update to the in-person board meeting policy to allow the community to remotely submit comments via call-in or online. Remote attendance at the meetings, if I recall correctly, was over 200 attendees when everything was online. Obviously, there's a desire for people to attend these meetings, and the amount of comments submitted online or phone-in was phenomenal, and I hope you all appreciate the desire of the community to have their voice heard. Not everyone can leave their home to be here because of childcare issues, quarantine concerns, requirements, or health issues. Don't silence their voices. Again, please reconsider and look at eliminating the in-person requirement for submitting comments at our school board meetings. Thank you.
Any further public comments? Okay, our next item is 16, correspondence. Do we have anything there today? No, that brings us to item 17, which is our next meeting dates, taking us through the school year. And then item 18, board comments. Ms. McDowell, would you like to go first?
Sure. I want to say that I thought the comment that was made about allowing for a remote option for people to be able to comment on our meetings is really appropriate, especially given the concerns that were just described, that people don't want to come. And I don't blame them. It's also just difficult for parents to come and deal with childcare. And since this is a school, that seems especially relevant. I would like to also continue saying congratulations to Mr. Todd in his new position. And that March's reading month has been a blast. I got to be a special mystery reader at Salem Elementary last week. And it was so much fun. Miss Pendleton's class, Miss Kosniak's class, Miss Belanga's class, and Miss Hill's class all let me come. And I just got this adorable card from one of the classes. And they drew pictures, and there's a whole note. And I didn't know that this was like a perk of the job. Guys, you were total nut on me. This is lovely. So thank you so much. Yeah, it was just really nice. And thank you to Mr. Knapp for extending the invitation.
Thank you. Mr. Leftwich?
Thank you, Mr. Dashner. I would like to say that the board did receive a lot of positive feedback on our return to learn. A lot of parents were very happy to have their kids back 4 days a week. That it really changed their demeanor, it brought their attitudes up, got them back in a more consistent schedule. So I did want to make that part of the record. And with that, congratulations and thanks to all the teachers and administrators that were able to make that happen. I'd like to thank Bart and Malo for their report tonight. I'm very excited for all of these upgrades. And we look forward to using these facilities to their fullest capacity in a post-pandemic world.
Thank you, Mr. Leftwich. Mr. Schwegler.
I'll just start off by first saying congratulations to Mr. Todd for being selected. It's nice to round out that central administration team, I'm sure. Hopefully that'll go real well for you. Thank you for the generous gift of the piano to Mr. Sidham. That's great, and certainly enjoyed the presentation about the update to the bond and to see how that's going along. And I guess all I'll say really about the back to school is that we definitely hear everything everybody is saying. It's hard to really try to balance the perspectives of both sides, but we do our best to try to make sure we're doing what's best for as many people as possible. And we'll continue to listen, so please continue to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abate.
Thank you, Mr. Dashner. I'll say congratulations to Mr. Todd. He has done a very nice job as a leader right here in this building since 2013, is that it? And we really appreciate that. It is hard anytime to leave before school year ends, and not have an opportunity to kind of close things up with staff and students the way you'd want. But so I'll just say to him, you think he skated out, which is okay. I hope he soaks up every minute that he has left here to enjoy with his group, this team, the students, and I'm sure he's excited to join the cabinet team. And I know you guys are excited to have him with you and to have your team rounded out and ready to roll into the future. So that's all really good stuff. And I will say to our families who came out, we really do appreciate the passion that you bring, and we do hear the comments. We do understand where you're coming from. As many of you did note fairly when you were speaking, we are bound by the health department regulation, and our administration is, in many respects, they do have their hands tied by those regulations. So until we see, and it's just me speaking, not speaking for them, just speaking for me, until we see movement in that respect, we don't have a great deal of choice in what we can do, even though nobody here, well, I certainly don't want to see all of these kids having to go on to school, but if that's the regulation, we do find ourselves in a spot where we have to do what's been asked of us by the county. So some of you did also note that lobbying the county in that respect, it would be appropriate, and I would say that would be the place certainly to direct some of those comments as well. We really are glad that you do come out, and we want to encourage you to continue to come out and advocate for students, and we appreciate everything that you said tonight. And as well for the comment for the pandemic, you're right. It is serious business, and we do appreciate that perspective as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. Mr. Tell?
I do want to extend also my congratulations to Mr. Toth. I will admit, when I saw it, I was a little like, oh no, the school's going to lose. Fabulous principal, but I'm sure he will do a fantastic job. I did chuckle a little bit in the first comment of rounding out the team, that all of them nodded their heads emphatically that they're getting someone to help them out. So, and I know he'll do a fantastic job. He's great with kids, great with adults, and very wonderful fellow. We were here at Centennial and enjoyed having him as a principal. So, other than that, I think it's great to be back in school. I think the kids are much happier. My kids are telling me more about what's going on the day than they ever have, including my teenage son, who'd be mortified if I said that. That he's talking more, so that's a great thing. So enjoy the days of school, enjoy the warm days of school as well, and don't think we meet before spring break again, so everybody have a good spring break.
Thank you, Mr. Tell. Mr. Kennedy?
Sure. I'll also congratulate Mr. Toth. It may be odd not meeting with him during disciplinary hearings. My fellow board members who sat behind that table with him several times. Welcome to our administrative team. Being on the facilities planning committee, working with Aubrey and Charlie and Chuck and Jeff and the rest of the team who worked tirelessly to listen to what our user groups, our administrators, our board members, our community, our teachers, and our students have to say. Thank you for working so diligently and tirelessly to put together what we're doing to move our district forward. Also to Mr. Cox, Mr. Russell, and the rest of the IT team for being able to move us into this venue and make things work apparently as flawlessly as they have this evening so far. Thank you. To all of our families at home, I think we are all trying very hard to make everybody happy and to keep our kids safe and offer the best that we can. At this point, is it perfect? No. Are we getting better at doing what we're doing? I think so. I'd like to think so. Let's keep moving forward. We're trying very hard. So thank you for your comments. Thank you for your input. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. The benefit of going last is everyone's already said everything else already, but I will duplicate some of it. I do want to say congratulations to Mr. Toth. He'll be a fine addition to administration. Then he gets to have the fun of hiring as a replacement. I do want to thank our IT group. They scrambled to make this meeting work tonight in person, and I thank them for all the work they put in to get it set up. I also want to thank the representatives from IDS, Mark Mallow, and especially the staff within our school system here. I've been involved in a couple meetings where the level of detail, the level of thought that has gone into these projects is pretty impressive, especially when thinking of things like the science labs in South Lyon High, which has been a wish list item for a long time. It's good to see that those spaces are going to become something that works a lot better. For our people at home that feel they might miss out on the meetings for not being able to come here and make public comments, I do want to assure you that any of the contacts we get, mainly by email, are weighed just as heavily as public comments we get here at the meetings. The only real difference is our emails aren't entered in the public record for the meeting. So don't feel left out if you're not here giving us public comments. You can always email us, and we'll consider those as well. And I'll also echo what Mr. Abate said about the Oakland County Health Department. You know, we're bound by what they give us, and that 6-foot spacing, even with wearing masks, is what we're stuck with. I go to update meetings every other week to hear the latest with Oakland County Health Department. And I did ask the question, can they ease up on the quarantining distance? And I'll just say they weren't very receptive to that idea. But maybe on the plus side, I see the CDC is now starting to consider studies that say 3 feet is adequate. So with any luck, we'll see some of that guidance shifting, and it will ease up on things for us. Other than that, that's all I have tonight. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is that Mr. Abate or Mr. Leftwich? Supported by Mr. Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned at 8:27. Thank you, everyone.